Hello everyone. Good morning to everyone. Let's uh, welcome to this masterclass of miasms. I'll just go and add Farokh Master sir.
Yes, sir. Good
Yes,
morning, sir.
good morning.
Sir, thank you so much for giving us this valuable time of yours. And Rukshin has also joined from Singapore. She's also watching you.
Good.
So we are all waiting, sir. People are joining one by one, but I'll not waste any time. And so just few things we had in our mind that as students we have learned a lot about theory of miasms, but today we'd like to know how actually miasms are used in the practice and what are your thoughts on miasms. So
Okay, so to study Miasm, one has to read a very interesting book written by Samuel Hahnemann, known as Hahnemann's Chronic Diseases. That is the best book one should read because Hahnemann devoted 12 years of his life from 1816 to 1828 trying to understand the actual evolution of chronic disease. Non-venereal chronic disease is always written through, though treated correctly or homeopathically. So if you treat something which is non-venereal very correctly, very homeopathically, Hahnemann observed that they kept on recurring. So that was one very big observation. And it's usually written with the same symptom or with additional new symptom. And the new remedy thus selected has to cover not only the old symptoms but also the new symptoms. And that is what Hahnemann was trying to apply in those 12 years where he was trying to do research. Hahnemann realized very late in his life that initially what he treated was an individual symptom and not the fragments of a deeper miasmatic disease. So this realization came almost 20, 25 years after he discovered homeopathy.
Hmm.
So all those symptoms which he treated individually kept on recurring either with some more additional symptom or with the same symptom, and he had to change a new remedy for that new symptom. And that kept on happening in his practice all the time. Miasms, he felt, were inherited.
Hmm.
Initially, he uses the word deeper layer and then he uses the word miasm and then he says they are usually inherited and acquired from a contagion. The word that he used in chronic disease is contagion.
Hmm.
Or he says these miasms also come if you do a suppression. So
Hmm.
these two new words started coming late in the 1828, and the symptom relapse occurs if one does not treat the case miasmatically. So now this is for the first time he says every case that you see in your practice which is chronic in nature needs a
Hmm.
miasmatic treatment. Now we have to understand that part, what he writes. Miasms, he says, are named for particular illness from which they origin. So that was the original thinking, but due to their further development, miasms
Hmm.
were much more far-reaching in the organism than the illnesses that started. It is like a seed that grows into the root and then follows the network of roots. This is what he felt. So miasm is not something which is one particular thing that needs to be treated. He says it is just like a seeds. Seeds grows into roots and then multiple roots and then network of roots. So you
Mm.
have to be very, very careful what he interprets by these kind of explanation. He talks about Sora. He says it's a universal contagion. He says it's a universal miasm. He says it's a fundamental miasm.
Mm-hmm.
And he says the best way to identify Sora is to examine the skin. And he says the skin eruptions, or he talks about the original itch. Now here there is a
Mm-hmm.
little confusion because Hahnemann brings many history from the data from the past histories relevant at that particular time, and he
Mm-hmm.
many times confuses leprosy also as a part of Sora. And so he talks about original itch disease. So some new students may get confused, but there is nothing much to confuse. If you remember that to identify Sora, you need to examine the skin, and on the skin there has to be some eruption in a very simple way.
Mm-hmm.
And he says almost all the population of the world suffers from this. So this is also very true that there is not a single person who never had any itch in the world. And then he says these are the primary symptoms. The itch is the primary symptom of Sora. And then later on he says, look, if you don't treat this primary itch, or if you ignore this primary itch, or it remains unnoticed from the patient, then you get the secondary symptoms of the Sora. And he identifies these symptoms in his chronic disease as anxiety, fear, chilliness, or sensation of heat. And then he says, after so many years of my practicing homeopathy, you can never entirely eradicate Sora. Now, see, this is a shock, huh? Because he says that you cannot entirely remove this. I will tell you later on why he uses such words also. And but this is what he talks in the beginning of his chronic disease. But actually speaking, what he talks in that book and what we see today is little difference. Huh? So Hahnemann's observations are quite different than our observation, because in our practice today, we don't see a pure psoric case. Huh? Basically, in at least in my practice, or I'm sure hundreds of other homeopaths, they see cases of mixed miasm. Hahnemann usually talked about pure psoric cases, and unfortunately, we are not that lucky enough to see that kind of pure psoric cases, because in today's world, you know that lots of chemicals and medicines and vaccinations and various kind of genetically altered food and preservatives and suppression and all these things has happened, and that is why these things have always blocked pure psoric cases, and now we only see basically a multi-miasmatic cases. So students need to know the basic difference between a latent miasm and an active miasm. Latent miasm is a quiet miasm, there are no symptoms. Active miasm always have a symptoms. Secondly, latent miasm, there is a feeling of well-being. So patient feels much better. Why should I go to a doctor? But you have to remember that nobody is perfect in the world. Nobody is 100% healthy in the world. There are some minor things here and there. And this is what Hahnemann identified as Sora. This is what he identifies as Sora. And now he says, how will you stimulate latent Sora into a secondary Sora or a active Sora? And basically, all this can be understood when there are some trigger factors. Okay, so let us see some example. Like you have a latent Sora, you are very healthy, reasonably healthy, you don't think of even doctor or hospital, and then one fine day you get a news that one of your very close relatives have died due to a tragic car accident. Now, see, this news will definitely excite the person, because the person will start weeping, person will develop anxiety, he will develop sadness, there will be some internal trembling, there will be no appetite, his sleep will be disturbed, there will be coldness of the hands, all these things will come out. Now, what happened to that latent sora? A person who was basically quite healthy, nothing, no symptoms, suddenly has got a bag full of symptoms. So, why this has happened? Here, the most important causative factor was giving a bad news to the person. So such triggers can either be emotionally oriented, or even it could be physically oriented. Now you have all these symptoms already, and after some weeks, some days, some months, these symptoms can also disappear and you can go back to your latent state. But suppose this symptoms continues and does not fail to go away, and it remains for a very long time, and now you get permanent sadness, permanent headache, permanent nervousness, permanent anxiety, or you may say a body ache, then this is basically because of something within your body which wants to maintain that state and not go back. Now, this is what Hahnemann calls as what is known as predisposition due to some obstruction to the cure, obstruction to go back to the normal state of health. Now, we have to identify that obstruction further. So, I'm just talking about how the flow of explanation of miasm in his chronic disease went from chapter to chapter, and this is what I'm trying to, in nutshell, trying to explain to you. So we were talking about this predisposition. Now, predisposition is how he reacts with the, and disposition is how he reacts with the environment, and predisposition is something within his body that does not allow him to live in peace with his environment or with his surrounding. So here we took an example of a death of a relative with a tragic accident, and lot of physical and mental symptom came up, and now you cannot call this as a healthy person. There is a layer, and that layer has to be removed because the latent sora has been fled into an active sora. This is very important. And who has stimulated this? Basically the bad
news.
Now we go little further, and let's say that the person is little tired with all this complaint, and he goes to a doctor, and doctor gives him anxiolytic tablets or sleeping tablets or something to relax, basically. Then what happens? So there are two possibilities. He doesn't go to doctor and he suffers in silence. That is one thing. But suppose he goes to a doctor and takes sleeping tablets or anxiolytic or something like clonil or diazepam or something like that. This will definitely complicate the picture in a very big way. Because now basically you have suppressed this sora, and this suppressed sora will now become more active and can affect many more organs, and the disease travels inwards. So this is very, very important, and this is what we call as what is known as a suppression. So during Hahnemann's time, anxiolytics and sleeping tablets and all these were not available. But at that time, they were giving strong teas and strong herbs, to suppress the anxiety. And Hahnemann said this is very bad because this definitely reacts with your vital force and definitely produces suppression. Okay? So this is not to be attributed. And he talks that the same sora intensifies, goes to the deeper organs, and starts affecting various organs. Now, what he means by that, let us go little more into depth. Okay? So he says you should know how to identify the Sora and the full picture of Sora. How will you identify? Because now you have suppressed it either with tablets or with ointment or with body sprays or powders or lotion or any other drug, and Sora gets totally activated. And he says the first thing, the very first symptom is tiredness. You are extremely tired. You become weak. Now, weakness, he talks in chronic disease at two levels: physical weakness and mental weakness. And weakness for mental exertion and weakness for physical exertion. This is one beginning of the now a deeper Sora has been stimulated. And then in his mind, there are millions of ideas. Lots of thought processes come, and this may even lead to what is known as fantasy. And the ideas are so much, but where is the power? Where is the energy to take care of those ideas or put it into practice? So they just remains as an idea, and nothing much can be done because there is no energy. There is extremely weakness. And so slowly the person starts building castle in the air because he can only put fantasies in his mind. The thought processes are too much, but there is no energy to do something deeper. This is one aspect when how the mind of the Sora gets affected. The second is anxiety about financial situation. Now this is very nicely described by Herring, not Hahnemann, in the remedy Sorinum. Now here they feel constantly that they have too little money to support themselves, and hence they become workaholic. They work day and night, morning till night, no holidays, no entertainment. Now, so if they work, they get money. But to work, they need energy. And we already discussed in the beginning that they don't have energy. And that is where exactly the conflict starts. There is a insecurity, financial, need to work, but no energy. So fighting with the energy all the time, fighting with the energy, and whatever little energy I get, I will put it into my practice and work more and try to gain money. So this financial insecurity is very important, the need for money. And so they also feel that the day will come when they will have nothing in their hand. And so they start collecting things. They collect every bit of things in their life. They don't want to throw away anything. They are the biggest collectors. Collection of newspaper, collection of old clothes, collection of furniture, collection of the possessions. They feel, they live with a feeling that they don't have enough in this world, and so slowly they become greedy. I have seen many patients in my life who have lived like a beggar, but when they die, they are millionaire because they have always kept so much thing in their house which is worth in million. So this kind of insecurity is a very important aspect of Soric mind. We go a little further and we find out that they withstand lot of insecurity. We started with anxiety, we discussed some fears, but now we are talking about insecurity. Insecurity means that they feel that something bad can happen anytime, any day, any minute, any second, and I have to be Otherwise, I will be in problem. So they become very good planners. They plan their day, nothing for last moment. They want to be extremely secured. Now let us see how security can be attained. Medical checkups for health security, consulting good doctors for health security, prevention of illnesses with good security. That is the health point of view. Money point of view, bank, investment, no share market, solid investment, fixed deposits. So financial security. Then traveling security, insurance, travel insurance, health insurance, car insurance. They are the best people for insurance company. Huh? So this is very important. Then comes preservation. So security for preservation of food. So they secure food in their house. Suppose if this is not available, at least I have something. But not only food for every small thing. So this could go into clothes, shoes, anything. They just want to store. Suppose tomorrow it is not available, then what will I do? So this kind of insecurity and all this insecurity or all these anxieties, all these fears are worse in the morning. By the time they are in the evening, I think so they become much more better. So, if you want, Hahnemann identified one remedy at least in his practice, which has all these aspects, maybe few may not be there, and he's talking about a remedy, Nakswamika. And he talks about Nakswamika, workaholism, and his passion to work, to collect money, and keep it for himself. Nakswamika works because hard work brings money, money brings power, and money brings fame. They do not spend much money on others, Nakswamika. They don't spend money on their family members, but personally, they spend a lot of money on themselves. They love to retire, but not so early in their life. So Sorik people like Naks will work till they are 80 years old. Even though the work gives fatigue, but they still prefer to work. And the second example which Hahnemann talks about in his chronic disease is Calcarea carbonicum. Again, Calcarea carbonicum earns a lot, saves a lot, and tries to preserve the money. There is a very nice rubric if you see in the repertory. Aversion everything to, sits idle as soon as he. That is the rubric. Aversion everything to, sits idle as soon as he. That means the moment he feels that there is nothing now more to gain and he is sitting idle, he has aversion to everything. In this rubric, you will see Calcarea carbonicum. I would advise you all to read this remedy from Hahnemann's Pura or chronic disease, and you will understand what he talks about related to money and hard work and industriousness. Okay, so this feeling of poverty which we are talking about, his anxiety for money, his fear for money, something will happen to my health, some disease will come, some robbers will come and take away all my assets or all my money. This kind of insecurity is the hallmark of Sora. Okay? Now, Now what happens? There are many symptoms in the Sora which are also worse in the night and not in the morning. But few minutes back I told you they are worse also in the morning. Yes, they are worse in the morning till the time they are ideal. Then they go to job, they forget everything. When they come back home, there is nothing to work. Again, all the anxiety and fears come. So the anxiety and fear of Sora is basically when they are unoccupied. When they are occupied, they forget everything. Basically, in the night, they are alone. And that is why many times they spring up from the bed with lot of fear and lot of anxiety, and then even they may panic also. And all the past incidences of something which has happened in their life can crop up in the night. That is what Hahnemann says. Now we go to another aspect of Sora, that they are very conscientious people. So they have a great fear of doing something wrong. So they constantly live with this thing, I should not do something wrong, because of the strong fear of punishment, fear of getting caught, fear of being ashamed, and fear of being guilty. And that is why constantly they are trying to see, I should not say something wrong, I should not hurt somebody, I should not do this, I should not do that. That conflict constantly comes in their mind, very, very sensitive to any kind of reprimands. And this becomes worse in the night when they go to bed. All the thoughts, all the worries will intrude their mind, and the sleep gets disturbed. So next day morning when they wake up, they are very tired. They don't want to get up from the bed. This is one way of looking. Another fear will be, as I've told you, that these thoughts keeps on coming in the mind about being caught and about punishment and of not doing something wrong. And the guilt that can manifest at physical level also. And the commonest physical thing is hypertension, blood pressure increases, chest pain comes, they run to doctors, they do ECGs and they do all the other blood tests to rule out heart attack, but they never have heart attack. Understood? Also, this can come in the form of a dream, and the basic dream of most of the soric remedy is incapacity, that they are unable to do something. So the common theme of soric dreams is unable to do something, or there is lot of confusion in the dream. So this is also very important. So you have to many times interpret such dreams. We move on further and we talk about horror and violence. Soric people become slowly aversion to all the violences, all the horrors, all the fights, can't see terrible scenes on the movie, in the newspaper, on the televisions. That is not soric, because the sensitivity is too high. So extremely sensitive towards the violence, and they literally get fears and anxieties, and they will not step out of the house. They will not go to the work if there is some violence nearby. So if you look at the rubric, horrible, sad stories aggravate, most of the remedies in that rubric belong to soric miasm. In fact, what they like is family, drama, love, romantic stories, comedy, cartoon, all those things are part of soric element, but nothing to do with violence. Soric people need support. That's very, very important. They slowly get dependent on others, very slowly in a subtle manner, and that is why entire company becomes a very important symptom slowly. And basically, in the relationship, when they are into company, they are very innocent, they are very naive, and that is why in relationship many times soric people are abused by the opposite partner because they are mild, they are sensitive, they are naive. So somebody will take advantage, or somebody will dominate them, or somebody will abuse them, and they will never have courage to leave that person. They will not speak a word. They will bear all the insults, humiliation, and violence. So Sodic people become a lot of victim of marital violence because they are mild, because they are timid, because they don't know how to defend themselves, and because they are dependent. Dependent. So I will not open my mouth. I don't want to leave him. Let him do anything to me. But a syphilitic or a soric person will give tit for tat, but not a soric. Now here we will talk about self-confidence and e-resolution, are two very strong word of soric miasm. They cannot decide on one thing very easily. At the same time, once they decide, they will never change. So they are obstinate. So to begin with, two minds, but once they decide, finish. That's the last thing I will do. So many times, these soric people, when they get opportunity to sell something, some property, something in their hand, they don't want to sell it. They want to keep it. So this holding on is not only at physical level of property or shoes or clothes or house or shop or etc., but even relationship. So holding on to the relationship, dependency. Do you understood?
Yes, sir.
Holding on. I don't want to leave you. Even though you abuse me, I will still be there. And that is why I told you they get abused. Sorry, people love consolation because consolation is again support and support dependency. So that is how most of the remedies in that consolation ameliorate will be soric in nature. Sexually, they are very cold people. So usually, sexually, they only want to become active to please their partners, and not that they have a very strong desire, or a strong erection or desire for intercourse. But whatever they want to do in that field, it is only to please the opposite partner. Premarital sex is not at all common in soric people, or neither they are engaged in any sexual fantasies, So this is very important. So if you ask me if how I identify soric people in my practice, very shy people, very timid, very bashful, afraid to make an eye contact, nervous, flushing of face, anxious, afraid to talk due to shyness, wants to give good impression to others by excellent manners, precise answer to the questions asked, and frequently uses the word sorry, thank you, pardon, can I disturb you. These are the words which are usually used by a soric person in my practice. I usually identify my soric patient at a distance when I see flushing, flush face. Sometimes it is totally opposite, that there can be a pale face.
Yes.
Lips can be red, that is another very important thing. Plain dress that they wear, neat, clean, sober dress, usually keep their body little bent forwards, so they lean on something. Standing is very difficult position for Sora, so remember that. And people usually prefer aerated drinks, cold drinks, tea, coffee, juices. Alcohol is never a part of Soric Miasm, remember that. So tea drinkers, juice drinkers, milkshake drinkers, coffee drinkers are all usually Soric or cold drink. They usually like light colors, they select light blue, light pink, beige, white, not with very heavy design, not with very heavy print, not a very zazzy clothing, what we call. In day-to-day life, Soric patients are extremely careful in making friends and acquaintances. They will only talk with people whom they feel they are little safe and secure. They will not talk with anyone and everyone. So if they are traveling in a train or a plane, they will never talk to the person who is sitting next to them. Now let's see in day-to-day life if there is something wrong going around them. Maybe some injustice. They will get lot of anger, but it's all within. They will never open the mouth. Sit quietly, will not express. Then what will happen to that anger? Anger leads to trembling. And the trembling is usually inside and not mostly outside. But definitely there is a lot of trembling. Flushing of the face, heat of the body, unable to talk. These are all the effects when something wrong is happening around them in their office or in outside the office or within the house. Okay, then what happens when they come home? They will not discuss anything with their family. They will keep quiet, or maybe they will open up with only those persons with whom they are extremely close. The profession that they belong mostly are doctors, engineers, lawyers, very conscientious, very hardworking, usually will give you 100% to the organization for which they work. So they are very dedicated people. Soric employees are always wanted in the world because they are so honest and so dedicated. They don't like to change job. They are very dogmatic. Once in this profession, oh, till I die, I will be in the same profession. Many times they express their anxiety by biting the nails, chewing the clothes, putting something in the mouth. Even embarrassment also, they may bite their nails. Bashfulness also, they can bite the nails. Lack of confidence also, they can do something. Then habits. So in the habits, Soric people basically when they are living their lifestyle, they try to use everything that is known, sturdy, like simple toothpaste. They will not go for zazzy toothpaste. Let's say a Colgate toothpaste which his father was using, his grandfather was using, he'll use the same toothpaste. Soap. So he will still use the old soap which his parents were using or he was using as a child. The shoes that he used to buy from Bata showroom, he will still buy from Bata and not buy shoes from internet or something like that. The belt and the clothes and the shirt and the tie and every damn thing. And it should have a good resale value. So if he has to buy a refrigerator or a mobile phone or car or
Car.
anything like that. It should have a very good resale value. He will buy the guarantee on that. He will buy an insurance on that. Television also, something very, 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 very reliable. They don't like to break rules. They will not jump the signal. You understood? They will pay the tax honestly. They will never give a bribe to a traffic policeman for jumping the signal or something like. No, no, no. They never do that. So many times these historic people are government employees also, or income tax officers, or traffic constables, or something like that. They are very law-abiding people, in short. Huh?
Hmm.
They love long walks. Now, this is important that Soric people love long walks, exercise, yoga. They never prefer fancy gymnasium
Hmm.
or aerobics or rather all those power yoga and all those. No, they don't like it. They like seashore. Their dietary habits are very regular, very hygienic, very simple. Dal, rice, sabji, roti. Nothing like pizzas and burgers and all those things. Fast food, no. Never. They like to live very quietly, so they will select a house in a very quiet street, in a very quiet building, not in the downtown, but little away from the downtown where there is no hustle, no bustle of the city life. Do you follow?
Hmm.
And they love their own privacy, they love their own simplicity. If you look at the disease that they are very prone to are mostly hypertension, which is a labile hypertension, not a stable hypertension, but labile, which fluctuates, migraines, eczemas, allergy, digestive disturbances. They usually don't get gout or cancer or peptic ulcer, no. TV channels also, they like to see meaningful TV, meaningful or informative TV like National Geography or History channels, or no late night movies, no late nights, going to bed very early. It's very important. So that thing is also I have seen very frequently. If I have to look at the child, clinging, again dependency, needs mother's attention a lot. Newborn, they suck few sucks and then they stop, few sucking and they stop because they get tired very
Hmm.
easily. If you hold a Soric baby in your hand, you will get little sour odor that comes from the nape of the neck.
Hmm.
And when you transfer the child from mother to nurse or from nurse to mother or from mother to father, they cry a lot because they have a strong feeling of falling.
Hmm.
They are very comfortable if they are wrapped up very tightly, like an Egyptian mummy in a coziness, because they are very chilly. In the first few months of a Soric child, you, you get a lot of snuffles, common cold, cradle cap, ear infection, redness behind the ears, or something oozes from behind the ears. That's very common. They are usually born little underweight. They look little smaller than their age, and they prefer to sleep next to their parents because they have a fear of dark. So they love to sleep between the father and the mother.
Hmm.
Very sensitive. So if in the school, if the teacher scolds them or reprimands them, they immediately fall sick. They cannot see violence on television like elderly Soric people.
Hmm.
They like to play games which are very intelligent, which needs concentration. but they will not be a very outdoor kind of children. They would love indoor games much more. Dentition may be slow and weak. Walking may be delayed, but dentition is the worst thing for psoriatic child. Huh? It's a nightmare. So teeth may come difficult, late, slow to fall out, the milk teeth, weaker assimilation power giving rise, to digestive disorders. They cannot digest vitamins. I have seen that in my practice. So they cannot digest calcium drops or any mineral supplements because that leads to constipation, and they pass white, chalky like stools. So do not give all those things to a psoriatic
Sorry.
child. Psoriatic child is basically weak and suffer from lactose intolerance also. So milk aggravates. So diarrhea and then unable to gain the weight. Or psoriatic child can have a lot of respiratory allergies and wheezes. And simple running nose will lead to fever, or simple running nose can go down also, or simple running nose can lead to ear infection also. And then by mistake, if you give antibiotics, oh God, then the thing becomes much more worse, because you are now stimulated the psoriatic miasm in a very bad way, and the things will keep on recurring. So you will have a chronic otitis media now from acute otitis media. You may have a permanent recurrent bronchitis, which was only a common cold in the beginning. So this is very important. The snuffle of the nose is very important, or the tonsils or the ear infection. And I think so. Another very important thing that I see in psoriatic children is the perspiration. So perspiration behind the nape of the neck, which is little sour, and the odor that comes from a psoriatic child. Yeah, when you hold the child, this is another very important aspect. So this is how I have seen psora in my practice. So how the secondary psora develops, I have explained to you. The
Yes,
primary psora is inherited, so it comes from our generation to generation. Hahnemann says psora cannot be totally cured, and I agree with him that this is definitely true. Everybody has a latent psora, but when you try to suppress it or treat it in a wrong way or ignore it for a very long time, or there is some stimulus, secondary symptoms of psora will always come up. So this is all about my observation of a psoriatic miasm that I see in my practice. And I would like to thank Dr. Abhishek
sir.
Joshi.
Sir, don't thank me. We are thanking you because I
Okay,
know you are absolutely going against yourself for coming on Instagram live. But we really love to listen to you. So
thank you.
I just tell you in a gist that approximately 75 people are watching us live. They kept on fluctuating. A lot of people have asked questions, but I'm not taking any questions because I value your time a lot. It's approximately 50 minutes that you spoke. And once again, whenever the time permits and whenever you feel it is the right time, maybe you can come again and give us some time again, 45 minutes for psychosis and then
Okay,
syphilis. So
bye
thank you
bye.
so much, sir. Bye bye, sir. Take care.
Bye.